competing at a combined weight of 405 pounds. They are the reigning, defending, undisputed Racing Dudes Triple Crown champions of the world, the Magic Mike Show.
What's up, everybody? I'm Magic.
And I'm Mike.
And this is the Magic Mike Show, episode 466. Mr. Somich.
Preakness Stakes.
Huzzah! Yeah, it's going to be a big show we're going to do. We got the late pick 5 races 9 through 14, ending with 13, ending with the Preakness Stakes. All stakes races at Pimlico. And it's always tough, Mike, because Pimlico runs for normally 2-3 weeks out of the year, and after that, we just kind of leave and go back to Laurel for Maryland racing. So, do you have any handicapping angles that you like at Pimlico? Anything you've noticed so far from how the meet's gone?
Yeah, pick winners. That helps out. You pick the horse that crosses the line first, you usually do better than if you pick the one that crosses the line second. Turf, look, it's your typical turf course, right? You want to be toward the lead. If there's some water that gets into the turf, you want to be off the pace. Generally, you want to be more forwardly placed at Pimlico on the dirt as well. You usually can't make up a ton of ground, especially going 2 turns. So, like most racetracks, speed is the advantage on both courses, but you do have some variance in that. Usually, it's a pretty fair dirt track, but you still don't want to be too far back.
A couple of these races will be on the turf. One's a turf sprint with a bunch of loaded, it's a loaded field and a bunch of horses that we know pretty well, and a couple of new shooters we haven't talked about before. So Ed Berg saying race 10 is impossible to me help. Hopefully we'll be able to help you. If you need more help, or if you want to play the 14th, which is the UAE President's Cup, it's the Arabian horses. It always comes after the Preakness Stakes because, well, why not? You can get all that information in the Preakness Stakes Betting Bible. It's out. It's available. It's ready right now. So if you have purchased it, go to racingdudes.com, go to your account, and it'll be available for download. If you want to just buy it on its own, go ahead and do that right now at racingdudes.com. But, Mike, we got a lot of horses to talk about. You ready to get into it?
Riders up.
All right, here we go, Mike. First leg of the Pimlico late pick 5 on Saturday, May 20th. Race 9, the Skip-At Stakes. 10 older fillies and mares sprinting 6 furlongs on the dirt. Where'd you go on top?
Well, I'm going to single here in a $5 ticket. I'm only going 2 deep in my 50-cent ticket. As most people can guess, if you watched this show 2 weeks ago, you knew I was on Mage. If you're watching now, you can probably guess I'm going to stick with Mage. So I'm going to single the last race as well, which allows me to play a little bit shorter in a $5 ticket. And I don't want to go crazy because I think Mage is going to be a very short price at the end of this. So I don't want to spend $108, $144, anything like that if you're singling Mage at the back end, because it's just not going to pay exponentially more. I do like a price in here, though. When you look through this field, it is just speed on speed on speed. You probably have 8 of the 10 horses that want to be on or very close to the lead. And then you got this 6th horse, Gunning, who's just like, hey, I'll sit right behind that pack and then run right by you down the lane. So give me the 6 Gunning on top at 6-1. Caught a wet track in the last 3 races and didn't run poorly on it. So I'm not trying to make an excuse over the wet track. I think this horse is better on a fast track, though. If you go back and you look at the best race, it was 7 furlongs breaking the maiden at Churchill Downs over a fast track. On a wet track, this horse can run, but on a fast track, she may be better. And if she is, she could stand over this field, and you're getting a nice price to kick it off. So I'm going to single the 6 in the $5 ticket. I'm going to go 2 deep with the 6 on top in the 50-cent ticket.
You know, when you said that you started off this race talking about Mage, I thought for sure you're going to bring up the fact that the 6 is Mage's older half-sister. Did you realize that?
No idea. See, that's what we need you here for. You're the information guy.
Listen, if I could be here good for one thing, let it be that. Yeah, she's an older half sister of Mage. She's by Gun Runner. The 2 horses you used in your 50-cent ticket, I used both of them. So they're both Gun Runner 4-year-olds. Gun Runner we saw very good as a 3-year-old, but he got better as a 4-year-old, and especially at the end of that 4-year-old campaign. I used Gunning in here. You nailed all the good points. Her 2 worst efforts, I thought, were when she tried attending the early pace as well. Absolutely no chance of that happening in this race, nope. Unless all the other horses fall down out of the gate. In which case, hey, then she's going to win easily. And at 6-1, I love her. My top pick is not the other one that you used here, but it is going to be the 7, Eeny, Meeny, Miny, Mo, at 8-1. The layoff is the concern, right? The 5.5-month layoff, but that last race that she was in, she was chasing Frank's Rocket in the grade 3 Sugar Swirl. Frank's Rocket is 1-5 if she's in this race, and there's nobody that's that talented to press. I love the fact that she's showing up here. Again, the layoff is a little bit of concern, but before the Sugar Swirl, she was never higher than 9-2 odds. She's been favored in 5 of her 10 starts. Her 3 best races in 2022, which were 2 wins and then second by half length, they all came with pressured paces, and we should see that here. But she did show in those races she could fight off her rivals to win, including a stakes at Monmouth. It's very similar to most of the horses she's facing here. 2 for 2 at Pimlico, 4 for 8 at the distance. Oh, by the way, Louise Saez is hopping aboard. I love that Louise Saez is showing faith to ride Eeny, Meeny, Miny, Mo. As far as the trainer goes, I didn't know anything about Michelle Hemingway, so I did a little deep dive. Only 7 starts this year at the time of the printing of my PPs. 4 total horses. 2 of them were wins. 2 more hit the board. So she's already got 4 of 7 horses in the, or 4 of 7 starts in the money. She's 14 winners, 42 in the money last year in 2022, which was her first full year in America. She's a multiple Group 1 winner in South Africa as well. So, you know, she's got a lot of talent. She knows what she's doing, and this is by far her most talented horse. I like that she's placing this horse in the right spot. So I used the 7, Eeny, Meeny, Miny, Mo, but I'm guessing all of the pace signed on is plus the layoff, probably why you left her off.
Yeah, it was tough for me. When you look at the 2 races where she's really been like crazy press, I guess there's one where she went 44-2 and was able to win in the regret at Monmouth. But the other 2 times she's gone 44, she did not finish, and she lost by 18 lengths. And this feels like a 44 pace because there are some burners in here. I think the 3 horse, I'm the Boss of Me, is 100% sending with IRAD there. I'm going to use the 2 horse that I believe you are as well as Benign here, who is going to be forwardly placed, maybe really the classiest of the speed. And that's really why I'm using the 2. I think this is your classiest speed horse, probably not your fastest speed horse, but has the ability to pass horses if we do end up in second or third. So the amount of pace in here made it really hard for me to get excited about any of the horses that absolutely have to have the lead to win. And to me, that was the issue with the 7 horse.
Let's talk about the 2, Beguine, the other horse we're using here, 3-1. She showed 2 back at Aqueduct that she could sit off the pace, like you mentioned, and she came within half a length of winning that race. And the winner, Rosa Veloce, was loose on the lead by open lengths at one point. It's not Beguine's fault that she wasn't, nobody else went up and pressed that horse, and she almost caught her anyways. Last time out in the Garland of Roses, I thought she probably sat too close to the pace. You know, she was wearing blinkers for the first time. We're keeping the blinkers on after that effort, so I thought that was notable as well. Did you have any concern that she's 3-1 on the morning line? She's got that big buyer 2 back with the 100 buyer. She's 1 for 8. She's very camera shy. She loves to run second. She's got 3 runner-up finishes. Are you worried about that at all?
A little bit. I mean, but if you look at it and you're like, well, she ran second in the grade 3 fantasy. Right, she ran second in a $116,000 stakes race. She ran second to Rosa Veloce that day, where she didn't really have a chance to beat her. So when you go through the second places, you're like, well, I kind of get it. I mean, like those are better horses and better fields than what she is facing today. And so I'm not going to hold her against getting her picture taken simply because of how that happened. I mean, it's not like we've been running in maiden special weights. We just keep running second, right? These are quality races we're running second in. I agree with you on the last race as well. I'm hoping that she is not part of this pace scenario. I want her to sit, like there's probably 4 horses that definitely want to go. I want her to be in that next group of 2 or 3 and sitting on the rails, save ground, tilt out and go past the tired horses. And then it's whether or not Gunning can run her down. We'll see what happens here off the layoff. That's obviously a concern as well, but she shouldn't have issues with the distance. She's gone a mile and a 16th in her career. Feels like she's going to be running pretty well. So I think the 2 and the 6 get me through here, and I'm hoping this pace develops the way I expected.
I saw that Chris Mello brings up Chitara is still running. Yeah, 6-year-old Chilean-bred Chitara is still here. She actually was my 4th horse. I didn't use her. I think she might be, a good horse to use underneath for trifecta's purposes. But, she's got some back class there. Did you look at Chitara at all?
A little bit. This is another one where I'm not sure the trip she works out. I mean, she's not as fast as some of these others, and she doesn't like passing horses that much.
Right.
And so it's one of those situations where, like, if I thought they were going to go 22-4, 45-4, and she's sitting in second, like, then yes, I thought that she had a shot here. But I expect them to go 22-2, 22-3. Like, I think they're going to be blazing early, and if that's the case, her game is severely negatively affected.
Let's move on. My second leg of the Pimlico Late Pick 5 on Saturday, May 20th, race 10. This is the Jim McKay Turf Sprint Stakes. We got an overdrawn field, 12 older males, plus an also eligible, and you can bet your ass we're both going to use that also eligible if he draws in. They're going 5 furlongs on the grass. By the way, first of 4 races we'll be covering live on Saturday on the YouTube channel. We'd love it if you joined us. We'll be live 1 to 4:15-ish p.m. On Saturday Pacific Coast time, so 4 to 7:15 if you're on the East Coast. We got a lot of agreement here as well. Start us off, Mike.
Yeah, I'm going to go to the rail. I'm going to go to the one horse, Nothing Better on top. Look, this has been just a great sprinter. We've talked about Jorge Duarte Jr. on this before. He's basically Colt's next personal trainer. He doesn't get a ton of pub because he doesn't put out a ton of horses, but when he runs them, they run well. He's 6 for 32 on the year. This horse won last time out at Aqueduct, going 6 furlongs. Optional claimers there, going 80 for 80K. Beat Voodoo Zip, Straight Answer, 2 pretty good horses. Lost to Belgrano 2 back, but before that, it ripped off 2 straight. This is a horse that just sprints very, very well. I like this 5 furlong distance. Should be forwardly placed. Has speed on the rail, which I like as well. So I'm going to put Nothing Better on top here and erase it. Again, I mean, you'd expect it in a 5 furlong turf sprint, but has a boatload of speed one more time.
I used her as well. Like I mentioned, 5 for 11 at the distance. Duarte strong here, and Karamanos was back. Was aboard 3 races back when they won the Aqueduct Turf Sprint Championship. So, second off the layoff, I think there's going to be a very improved effort here from the one Nothing Better. Lots of pace though. Where else did you go in this race?
Well, my boy is in this race. So obviously, I gotta pick Smokin' Jay, the number 2 horse here. The number 5 horse is gonna be on both the $5 and the 50-cent ticket for me. Smokin' Jay is one of those horses we've talked about a bunch on here. Finally was able to get the job done for us 2 back. Last time out was a really disappointing effort. Not really sure what happened. I mean, it's just one of those almost too bad to believe type races. My other boy, Front Run the Fed, won that one after you openly mocked me for picking him in that race. Well, he got home there. Look, Smokin' Jay is going to get the pace set up here, and to me, that's the key. Smokin' Jay is able to sit close to the pace and pounce. That's what he did 2 back. That's what I'm looking for him to do here. There's a ton of horses that want to go to the front. Smokin' Jay should get the good trip. It's just whether or not we're going to fire today. But if Smokin' Jay fires, 6 to 1 is a pretty good price on the 5 horse. So 5 horse was the second pick for me. Did you use my boy Smokin' Jay, or are you going to be crying after the first race on the live stream?
If there's anyone out there who they themselves or they have family members, someone they know that needs a kidney, Chris Maiello's is available because he bet it and he lost. It is not on my ticket. No Smokin' Jay on my ticket here. No, the horse, yeah, he'll hit the board. I'm not using him on the ticket. No.
All right.
No interest in him.
Magic's not getting out of the second leg. All right. Who else what other losers you got on here?
It's funny too because I was looking at your ticket on the back end and all of a sudden I was like 5 horse, and then literally as I thought that I saw it switch. So I see what you did there. Let's talk about the 10 horse. We both like this horse, Coppola. Cannot believe that this is, I almost made Coppola my top pick. It's a Dale Romans horse. I had to check my temperature a couple times, make sure I was feeling okay. If you remember, Coppola is a former $800,000 purchase by the Avengers team. Failed the Bob Baffert program, never made a start for Bob Baffert. They sent him to Jonathan Thomas. He won his first 2 races and then couldn't quite handle mid-level allowance runners in the middle of the country, and they sold him off for $105,000. So actually, pretty good return on investment considering how poorly he'd run in a lot of his races. They sold him. He had 1 start for a different trainer, and then he went to Dale Romans, and Dale Romans put him on the turf. And 3 straight races on the turf, all sprinting, all of them very solid, including a dominating 4.5 length win at Churchill Downs during Derby week, in a race where he still had a little bit of trip trouble. Speaking of which, both 4th place finishes at Gulfstream Park for Dale Romans. They were good, lots of trip trouble. Really hoping that now that we're out in the 10 post, let's try and avoid some trip trouble, Coppola. Come on.
Yeah, come on, buddy. Let's not get in trouble here. Look, rarely am I going to say this, but Dale Romans, great job in just sticking to the guns and keeping this horse on the turf. Because those first 2 efforts, they didn't jump off the page at you, but all of them were better than the dirt efforts. And then last time you saw it come together at Churchill Downs, getting John Velasquez in here, you're getting 6 to 1. I can't believe that I'm going to be using McPeak as a single in my first race, and I'm going to be using Romans in the second race in my $5 pick 5. But here we are. Look, this horse seems loaded, should get the trip. You mentioned the trip trouble, but has tactical speed and then has a kick, and that's really what you want in these type of races. So I think we got a big shot here with Coppola, the 10 horse. You get a nice price at 6 to 1.
Chris is asking Dr. Ting in the chat if he handles kidneys.
Only if they have
Oh, that's great. All right, next up. So I'm a little surprised, and you can tell me why you didn't. Number 3, Artemis City Limits was my top pick in this race. Irad and Mike Maker, 27% winner since the start of 2022, and a huge class drop. This horse has been in grade 2s and grade 1s at Kentucky Downs, Keeneland. He ran a pretty good 5th in the Breeders' Cup Turf Sprint, and I think that the reason I did like him in this spot also is that he's tactical. He can sit on the pace, but in this, if it ends up being blitzing here and a couple horses crossed over on him, I think he can sit off comfortably with Irad aboard. But you didn't use the 3 Artemis City Limits. Tell me why.
No, this was my 5th horse in. So if the 13 doesn't draw in, which I think we're both going to talk about in a second here, I would add the 3. But in my mind, this is just a play against horse for me. Look, the last 2 were awful. And I realize, facing a ton better. I get it. There's grade 2 Shakertown, grade 1 Sprint. Caravel was in both of those. But you say tactical. This horse has never won when it wasn't on the lead at the half-mile point. That's a problem in this race for me. I don't see him making the lead, and if he does, I think it's going to be a really pressed lead. And so, you can point back to a couple races where he did not win, but his buyers would be good enough to win this race. But for me, at 5-2 in a race that I think is wide open, and I like a favorite at the end, there's just enough reason for me to try and take a shot against Artemis City Limits here.
That's fair enough. Last one to talk about here. Oh, no, before we talk about the also eligible, real quick, I also used the number 6. That's right at 12-1. Playing the trainer angle on this one. Michael Moore is at 29% win rate this year, 28% with Hernandez riding with a 286 ROI. And it's small sample sizes, but since the start of 2022, he's 31% in stakes, 4 for 13, 43% off of a 180-day plus layoff, 3 for 7, 62% in turf sprints, 5 for 8. Again, very small sample sizes, but very good numbers for those sample sizes. The horse fired back-to-back 4 full-on bullets at Parks leading up to this, going 47-2, 47-3. And as a 3-year-old, you got to remember, he beat older horses in the grade 3 turf monster at Parks. The runner-up from that came back to win an allowance at Laurel next out. This feels like the kind of horse that could pop up at a big price on Preakness Day when a lot of these legs look a little bit chalky. So I did use the 6 here as well.
Yeah, I mean, I don't hate just that's right. Again, it's the speed problem with me. And we were talking about this a lot in the first 2 races. I didn't even realize it when we were going into this. But there is just that's another horse. Like, it has to get the lead. And so then the question is, if you've got Artemis City Limits going, if you got Nothing Better going, if you got That's Right going, are we sure one of them can hold on? I think the 1 is actually the classiest of those horses from a speed perspective, and so that's why I ended up there. But it's going to be tough to go gate to wire in this race, and that is what That's Right is going to try and do from that 6 post.
All right, let's talk about him. Number 13, Beer Can Man, Flavian Pratt, Phil D'Amato. We're both hoping one of these horses in this race ends up scratching so that he could get in here. But tell the people about why we like him.
His name, just a phenomenal name. Look,
that the name.
We talked about D'Amato shipping back to Kentucky, and Beer Can Man ran at Keeneland. We actually talked about this race again. It was the front of the Fed race. Ends up going off as a $2.50 favorite in that spot. Got a ton of play. I thought didn't run poorly, just kind of didn't really get the trip. And if you look at what happened to him as well in the gate, he had issues going into the gate. It was kind of, you felt like it was that comeback race. And then once he was in the gate, he moved around, didn't break as clean as normal. I trust D'Amato with these type of horses. Pratt picks up the mount. I like the 13 post when you have tactical speed and a ton of speed inside of you, because he should be able to pick the trip he wants. And I trust Pratt to get this horse, let's say in 5th or 6th, 2 wide or 3 wide going into that far turn with a bunch of speed in front of you to chase down. We got to draw into the race. But if 13 Beer Can Man draws in, I think he's really live.
I wanted to throw it to you because you were the first one that was on the D'Amato shipping to Kentucky angle, so I wanted to make sure but I agree with you on that one. Let's hope that he draws in. In the meantime, move on the 3rd leg of the late pick 5 at Pimlico on Saturday, May 20th, race 11, the Maryland Sprint Stakes. We got a field of 10 older males going 6 furlongs. On the main track. Where'd you go on top?
Sorry, I'm still celebrating a 12-1 over at Belmont. It's just been one of those days where everyone keeps running in second for me. 11th race, look. I didn't get crazy here. Nakatomi, the 7 horse for me. Wesley Ward, coming out of grade 2, grade 3, grade 1 races, ran pretty well in all of those and just kind of came up a little bit short when it came down to the wire. We're dropping into that grade 3 level today. It just seems like this is where this horse fits well, and you don't have any of those like monster beaters in here. You know, any horses that you're really that afraid of. So I think Nakatomi is the best shot at coming from off the pace to try and get the job done here. You've got the 10 horse Wonder Where Craig Is. You've got the 8 horse Straight No Chaser, who are both going to be flying early. So I'm willing to take a shot here at a horse that's going to come from just off of it to try and get the job done. It's not like Nakatomi is like completely void of early speed as well, just not as quick as those other two. So I think Sit's a pretty good trip here, sitting 4th or 5th and able to get the job done, turning for home.
This is my top pick as well. He was not only my top pick in the Commonwealth, I singled him, and that didn't go too well for me. But I'm not getting enough of Nakatomi now. But listen, 7 furlongs, that's probably too far for this horse. And you remember the runner-up from that race was Hoist the Gold. He finished a pretty nice second in the Grade 1 Churchill Downs Stakes right before the Kentucky Derby. Wesley Ward, Tyler Gaffleone, 10 for 30 with a 229 ROI since the start of 2022. So I'm all over Nakatomi as well. Where'd you go for your next play?
Only going to go too deep in the 5. Well, actually, I'm singling Nakatomi in the $5 ticket here. I'm going to go 3 deep in the 50-cent ticket. I'm using Straight No Chaser. And look, the 8 horse 3-1. I realize we're not getting a great price. That last race was so good at Oaklawn. I mean, just so freaking good. The horse goes 22, gets to go 45, and that was the first time in this horse's career he was able to go 45. Ends up winning by 7. Right, so a big key here is how fast is Wonder Where Craig Is. Freaking horse's name's unbelievable. How fast that horse is going to go. He's only gone 44 twice in his career. So if they don't blaze early, I think Straight No Chaser has a big chance of being able to hold on and take this field gate to wire. So I like the 8 as well. Did you use Straight No Chaser?
I didn't. I think this horse is a speed and quit, and I don't love how he's looked in some of his races. I didn't think that he would necessarily get an easy lead here. I was looking back at the Palos Verdes Stakes 2 back when Straight No Chaser had a little bit of a lead. It was contested about halfway down the backstretch, and then he just kind of faded and lost by almost 4 lengths. There's 2 horses in here for the Queen of Maryland Racing, Brittany Russell. One of them is Wonder Where Craig Is. The other one's Hello Hot Rod. They have 2 different styles. Wonder Where Craig is going to be up there on the lead, you would expect, especially with her husband Sheldon Russell in the saddle. So I begged to actually use the 10 because I think that he can push the horse and he can push Straight No Chaser and be in a fight and still have a little bit left. Whereas with Straight No Chaser, with his efforts, it's like to me, his best effort still was that debut win on turf, going 5 furlongs at Del Mar. Like, to me, that's what he is. He's like a 5.5 furlong horse when he's going to be facing speed like he will here.
I mean, Hopkins and Taba, the horses he lost to 2 and 3 back, are pretty good. I mean, I'm willing to kind of forgive some of those losses here for Straight No Chaser. Real quick shout out to Brittany Russell. She's 58% at Pimlico right now, 7 for 12. It's funny looking through these PPs and you're like, okay, how do I play this? Because you've got her who's just dominating the circuit, and then you have all these horses shipping in. And so how often do you use those local horses? How often do you try and play against them? I thought that was one of the more difficult parts about capping this card over the weekend. I did end up 3 deep here. Give me the 2 Prevalence. Give this horse one more chance.
Jeez.
There are races that fit here. I don't know what we were doing going onto the turf. I don't know what we're doing going a mile and 7 furlongs in those grade 3s. This horse wants to be going 6, that type of range. Doesn't want to be on the lead. You go back and you look at who this horse has lost to. I mean, it's brutal, man. Up to the Mark, Endorsed, Syllabus, Jackie's Warrior, Candyman Rocket, like Jackie's Warrior again. This is a much easier field. And at 8-1, I'm willing to take a shot here with Prevalence. Again, last horse on the ticket for me in this race, but I'm willing to take a little bit of a chance.
No, I'm done with Prevalence.
That's fair.
I'm gonna let that horse beat me every time. It's I mean, at least they're trying something new where he's never actually used it or been this short before, so maybe that will change things up. Like, they haven't completely given up. They're like you. You haven't completely given up. Like, we'll keep, maybe now, maybe this time, maybe that'll work out for him. But I'll let him beat me. I did mention I used the other 2 Russell horses in here. By the way, you mentioned Brittany Russell is so rock solid at Pimlico. She won races 2 and 3 today with Javian Toledo in the saddle. Like, her husband is Sheldon Russell, and he exercises a lot of the horses in the morning for him too. Toledo's statistically the better rider for her, so it's kind of crazy. Wonder Where Craig Is, 6 for 13 at the distance, 10 in the money efforts at the distance, 2 for 3 at Pimlico. His one loss here came by a head. As far as Hello Hot Rod goes, talked about Toledo being so rock solid for Brittany Russell and how she's doing so well right now. I think it's going to be sharp cutting back from 7 and 8 furlong races since Brittany Russell took over. And he's 5 for 15 on fast dirt with 9 in the money finishes. A very nice second in the Frank Whiteley Stakes at Laurel last out. And again, cutting back, I think that's going to prep him for this spot. So I went 7, 9, 10. You went 2, 7, 8. But we definitely agree with our top pick, Nakatomi. Just don't let me down like he did in the Commonwealth.
Real quick question for you.
Yeah.
Do you think there ever fights in the Russell house if he doesn't get the good mount? Do you think?
I would just a pure guess. I would say that there's not a fight. It's just okay. And the next time suddenly Javian Toledo's on the horse. I think that's what happens. I think it's more of a passive aggressive thing that Toledo suddenly pops up on the horse.
I mean, that's got to be tough when you're that good and you have 2 horses in all these races and you're like, hey, why is this guy getting more winners than me? What do I need to do to you? What do I do? Am I doing something wrong at home? Like, what's going on? It's unbelievable.
Let's move on. Like the penultimate leg, I almost said fourth. What does that mean? Penultimate leg of the Pimlico Late Pick 5 on Saturday, May 20th. Race 12, the James Murphy Stakes, and we've got 9 3-year-old males going a mile on the grass here. Our old boy Fantastic again that let us down in the Jeff Ruby Stakes. He's here. He's back on turf. Actually, he's trying turf for the first time, or at least in a long time. Anyways, where'd you go on top?
I went with our boy. Give me Fantastic again. Look, this is one of those spots where I don't think there is a ton of that early speed. And I love the fact that we're going a mile here on this turf course, so not nearly as long of a run up into the first turn. Fantastic again is your inside speed, should have no problem getting the first turn first. And if that is the case, I think Fantastic again all of a sudden gets really, really tough to pass. Number 3 horse, a Western Yarn, could press the early pace, as could Top Recruit, who's the 4, but luckily, Rosario's on the 4, so probably not have to worry about that too much. And if that's the case and the 1 wins the race to the turn, I think Fantastic, again, gets hard to pass down the lane.
Poor Joel. It's okay, buddy. I knew there was going to be some Joel shade thrown. I had to put him up here in the background. Because the 4 is in here, forgetting for the moment who the jockey is aboard.
Joel on a shade. I mean,
I think Jared did that on purpose when he ordered these. I didn't use Fantastic again. My issue with him is watching his races is he doesn't like to be challenged. And every time that he's lost, it's someone goes up and challenges him at some point and they start to put their head with him and he goes, oh, never mind. I don't like this anymore. And he quits. So I'm just worried that that's going to happen here. But he is bred to really flourish on the turf. And we saw he did really well at Turfway Park on the synthetic. So I get using him. I also didn't like that he was 3-1 when my top pick is the 8-5 favorite Nazarok in here for Flavian Pratt, Graham Motion. Second off the layoff and taking a huge class drop after finishing a very game second in the Grade 3 Transylvania, Keeneland, back in April. Remember, the third place horse in that race was Webslinger. He came back and won the Grade 2 American Turf at Churchill Downs on Derby Day. Nazarok with a very solid third in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile as well, and Graham Motion adding blinkers on the advice of Flavian Pratt. Motion is 28% adding the blinkers with a nice ROI. So I went with the 9 on top. Did you use them at all?
I did use the 9 in my 50-cent ticket. I do respect Nagnarok here. Webslinger obviously flatters Nagnarok. I really like the 8 in here. It's the other horse that's going to make the $5 ticket, Wonderful Justice. Not sure if you use this one, but if you go back and watch that last race, Wonderful Justice might have been the best horse in that race and just got a brutal check job. I mean, full-on Florent Giroux ride in that spot where it's just like, hey, we're going to find trouble and ride right into it. And that is exactly what happened. Now we switch from Giroux over to Saez. Brad Cox, 5-1. A horse clearly likes turf, should be coming from off the pace, has tactical speed if you need it. Like, there's a lot to like about Wonderful Justice. And I think we get close to that 5-1 price because Fantastic again's in here and because Nagnarok on the outside was so far ahead of him last time. I think it sets up well to get a decent price on a horse that I think may have been the best at Keeneland, and we never got to see it. If you look at the running line, it's ridiculous. It was 2 lengths back and then checked back to 7 lengths. I mean, that's how bad it was at the upper stretch. Never really got a chance to run. Hopefully we get a much better trip and get it home. Get the 8 Wonderful Justice home on Saturday.
Boy, that you're not kidding. That effort, the Transylvania, it was just, if it was horrible from the start. Not all of it was Flo's fault. I'll give Flo a little bit of a pass in the fact that he had a horse cross over on him right going into the turn, and that's when Flo had to check up really hard. Now, Flo didn't do anything after that to really help get the horse out of trouble because he just kind of kept him on the rail and kept him on the rail, and everybody slowed down in front of him, and he kept him on the rail, and it didn't really work out too well. But yeah, I can't say enough about Luis Saez and how much of a jockey upgrade that is over just about anybody, especially when he rides for Brad Cox. 42% winners with a 347 ROI since the start of 2022. So, by the way, if you want to see a real Flo ride, go watch the not the Caesars, the whatever the hell the Caesars, whatever the hell that race was at Indiana Grand on Wednesday. Oh boy, he was on a horse that was probably 5 lengths the best, and just 8th race. Thank you, Aaron. He flowed that one up real bad. So anyways, all that to say, I agree with you on Wonderful Justice. Almost made him my top pick. I went with the 3 Western Yarn as my 3rd pick. Loved it being 10-1 on him. His first 2 route attempts were 2 wins, including a maiden win, where the 2nd and 3rd place horses both came back to win. And then he set the pace and got caught, finished 3rd in the Columbia Stakes behind Talk of the Nation, a horse that's now 3 for 4 lifetime for Shug, and Mostache, who won the Transylvania next time out. And we keep talking about the Transylvania Stakes, how much that's a key race for this one. The winner is who beat Western Yarn in that spot, or got 2nd there. So I think at 10-1 especially, it's a great odds on him. I'm a little worried that I think he might need the pace, and he's not. I'd be surprised. We said this before about Delacour horses and been wrong, but I don't think he's fast enough to get the lead. So we'll see what he does with the stalking trip. But just based off of class and how he's looked in his turf route attempts, Mike, I did have to put him on here at 10-1.
I don't hate it. I thought that, look, you go back and, like you said, that Columbia race has been just solid because you look at how fast they went. I mean, they went 47.5. But then they went sub 24, and then they really cooked it in that last quarter of a mile there. Went 110-4 to the 6 furlongs, 133-2 to the final time. And look, Talk of a Nation and Mostache just ran faster down the lane than a Western Yarn did. But there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, Mostache, good horse. Talk of the Nation, a lot of people were on Derby Day before he ended up scratching out. So we'll see what happens out of that race. Again, I don't think he can get the lead. I think that's a problem. I think Fantastic, again, is just 100% send from the rail for Warden Velasquez. I think that really hurts the 3's chances in this spot.
Last one in here for me, and Kevin B says the 5 gets the award for the worst name. As long as he wins, I don't care what the hell they call him. Circling the Drain at 8-1. We talked about last race, Queen of Maryland Racing, Brittany Russell with Javian Toledo, 31% winner overall. Coming into today, that number's gone way up is at Pimlico. She's 20% going dirt to turf. This is a horse that I watched a lot of his races on the Tessio trail, because the Tessio is a winning for the Preakness. He's just kind of a grinder. There wasn't anything about him that really was that exciting, but he likes to come from off the pace, and I think moving to turf is going to give him a chance to take a big step forward, which he's going to need. His dam was 6 starts going 8 or 8.5 furlongs on turf, 2 wins, a 2nd, and 2/3, including the grade 3 stakes placing, and twice was stakes place. So he has a lot of turf breeding from that side. Cozine, the dam sire, was a champion turf horse back in his day. So that side of things says that he should be able to handle the turf. Russell said after the Tessio, or coming into this race, that they always thought he was a turfy type, and they wanted to see what he could do for the dirt trail. Now, it's easy to say, we always thought he was a turf type when he runs like shit in his last dirt race, but in this case, I'm going to lean towards, I think at least the breeding says that he should be able to handle it. And at 8-1, again, a horse that I like at a price that I'm going to put on this ticket.
I don't mind spreading in this race. I don't think Nagnarok is the greatest favorite in the world at 8-5. And if you're looking for a race to try and get a price, I don't hate the idea of this one. I mean, you can make a little bit of a case for the 2. I could even make a little bit of case for the 6 horse at a huge price here, 20-1, with Ortiz picking up the mount. So if you want to spread in this spot of the races that we're covering, I think this is a good spot to spread. Speaking of that, real quick, a horse that I considered and I couldn't pull the trigger because I can't figure out how he would win here. The 2 Fade the Noise, 20-1. It's Maker, it's Tarla Gaffleone. He's by Mendelssohn, and it's his first time he's ever going to try longer than, I think, 5.5 furlongs in his life. And he won his turf debut, and then he tried the turf stakes at Saratoga last August, didn't work, and then last time out was in a big stakes at Keeneland, and again didn't show up, but he was also really slow out of the gate. The breeding says that a mile should be within his grasp, and it will be, again, first time he ever tries routing. Are you worried about not using the 2? Because I'm a little bit. I mean, like I said, there are playable long shots in here, and the 2 specifically lost to Fade or Top Recruit on the dirt. then came back and lost to Oxymore, who's a very good turf sprinter, lost to Gaslight Dancer last time out after not breaking and not getting a trip. I mean, you could make an argument that you have not seen the best of this horse pretty easily, that the mile should be a better distance. And like, this is one that's just shown he can pass horses and he has a good burst. So if he's able to sit in that third or fourth spot, he's dangerous if those first two start coming back a little bit and no one's flying from the back. So I don't hate the idea of the 2 at 20-1 in this spot.
All right, let's move on, Mike. The fifth and final leg of the Pimlico Late Pick 5 on Saturday, May 20th. Race 14, the Grade 1 Preakness Stakes for 8 3-year-olds going a mile and 3/16 on the main track. We started off this sequence, both of us loving a horse that is out of the Big Brown Dam Puka. And now we're going to finish us talking about why we're singling a horse out of the Big Brown Dam Puka. And that's number 3, Mage.
Yeah, I considered going too deep here, but it's hard for me to use Mage and use someone else at the same time. Because let's be honest here, Mage is going off what, even money, 4 to 5, maybe 6 to 5.
I was guessing 4 to 5 even, yeah.
I mean, right now you can get plus 140 or plus 150 on overseas books. So if you want to bet Mage to win, bet it that way because you're not getting plus 140 or plus 150 right now. Here's the thing: if you go to the wedding, okay, you're allowed to go to the funeral or the honeymoon, right? If you miss the wedding, then you can't go to the funeral. That is the saying. We went to the wedding. We celebrated. We ate cake. We got really drunk on champagne. We had a great time with the bridesmaids. And here we are. We're on to this race. Look, Mage has a great shot at winning this race if he simply runs 90% of that Derby effort. And to me, the big thing with whether or not you play Mage here is, do you think he's going to bounce? Because he is the best horse in this race based off of the last 3 races from his profile, right? Specifically his Florida Derby and Kentucky Derby. I think his Florida Derby wins this. We've talked about that race ad nauseum at this point about why that was a better race than it looked on paper. He just has to not bounce. And when you watch the Derby, what was as impressive as anything else is he did it himself on the backstretch and the far turn. And then he was only hit once down the lane. It's not like Castellano was scrubbing him like crazy and trying to really get every last ounce of effort out of Mage. And he has come back and looked phenomenal. Not like a tired horse, not like a horse that needs this massive break. So look, for me, I think Mage is the best horse here. I'm not sold on First Mission. We can talk about why. I am not sold on Blazing Sevens. We can talk about why. I think National Treasure is interesting. We can talk about why. But Mage is the best horse. And if I'm going to play this and I'm going to go too deep and I'm not using someone like Perform, who I think is arguably the other horse you'd want to use if you go too deep, I feel like you almost have to single Mage if he's a top pick. So I'm going to single Mage in both the 50 cent and the $5 ticket. I
singled him as well. And a big part of it is the price. And also, the more I look at this, as much as we would selfishly, for fantasy purposes, love First Mission to win because we own him. First of all, we're not going to win the fantasy league anyway this year. I think at this point we can officially write that off because even if First Mission wins, are they going to go Belmont with him? No, they're going to wait for the Haskell or the Jim Dandy or the Travers. So take that out of it. From a handicapping perspective, I don't see how Mage loses this. And a couple things I want to bring up. First of all, David Aragona for Daily Racing Forum had this great stat per formulator. The trainer, Gustavo Delgado, because there's that quick 2-week turnaround and some people are worried about it. Last 5 years, with last out winners in similar layoffs for Delgado, 8 for 23, 35%. With a positive ROI, 16 of those 23 finished in the money. That's a big deal. That shows me, like, I don't care that it's a 23-horse sample size. The horses don't usually come around from a turnaround that quickly. He knows what he's doing, and he was a multiple Triple Crown winner, I believe, in Venezuela, back in his home country. If you go back and watch the replay for his debut, and a lot of people point in that and say, look, he's got early speed. He was still slow out of the gate because 5 horses were ahead of him before they hit the exit of the chute onto the main track. But it was 8 horses. He was drawn post 2. He's post 3 here. And when he was asked, he did quicken. And I think if there's a case where Castellano wants to go to the lead or wants to be close to National Treasure, you don't have a million horses coming down on you. You don't have horses, hopefully, that are going to go screwy and break all over the place and mess you up. But even if it does, we saw in the Derby, it doesn't matter. He'll still come by. And Mage is just too strong at this point. I just don't see how he loses this race. So I'm with you. I singled him.
He ran a 48.5 in the Derby. I don't think people realize that enough. Like, because they went 45 and change up front, and he was 14 lengths off. That's a 48.5. I mean, so it's not like he's devoid of speed in that case. The other thing that I think is really impressive, and I don't think people talked about this. This is an athletic little horse. If you go back and you watch that race, he beats Tapit Trice to a spot before the wire. That's why Tapit Trice was last and he was in 16th. He beats Tapit Trice to a spot in the backstretch. He beats Angel of Empire to a spot around the far turn. He can shift gears so much better than a lot of these bigger horses because he is smaller. He is more nimble. So I like that part of him as well. And I'm surprised I'm picking National Treasure, but you look, we're adding blinkers again. I don't think there's a ton of speed in here. I think Bob Baffert is going to be on a revenge tour coming shortly here. Now that he's allowed back in some certain places, he didn't ship to lose this race. And the fact that Arabian Lion is on the undercard and Arabian Lion lost to First Mission by a nose, and you're putting National Treasure in here, tells me you think National Treasure is better than Arabian Lion. And if that's the case, then National Treasure is better than First Mission. National Treasure has not made the lead since his first career race. Since then, he's faced Cave Rock twice, who's not faster than. He's faced 3 Bob Bafferts when he was not supposed to go to the lead. And he faced 2 dead sprinters who were ahead of him in the Santa Anita Derby. This is going to be the first time he's going to make the lead since his career-breaking start. If they go 48 to the half, and he's just loose up there, which I think is definitely in the world of possibilities here, because he beats Coffee with Chris to the corner. Coffee with Chris backs off. He beats First Mission to the corner. He doesn't want the lead anyway. All of a sudden, you've got a Baffert Velasquez up front, where Baffert is just wants to win this race badly. He's going to do everything that he can to win it. That's the case you can make for Mage losing this race, is that National Treasure gets loose on the lead and Mage isn't able to run him down because he's 4 or 5 lengths back turning for home.
It is intriguing with all of the notes. The problem I have is the same one that kind of Aaron's brought up before. Once you watch the replays, I'm like, God, this horse is he just kind of dicks around a lot. Like he doesn't really have a turn of foot. So if he gets out there on an easy lead, then yeah, he becomes dangerous. I don't know that he does. Again, I talked about it with Circling the Drain. I watched this whole Maryland circuit for 3-year-olds. Coffee with Chris likes to be up front. And Coffee with Chris, I think, is going to be part of that early mix. Now, does he have any chance to hold on? Probably not, even though his sire, Right on Curlin, was second in the, I want to say, 2014 Preakness to California Chrome. Aaron can correct me if I'm wrong on that. But I expect that he's going to at least be up there and part of the early bit. Aaron brings up, according to Timeform, First Mission has actually, he's 1 point faster than National Treasure there. The difference is he's drawn outside, inexperienced, and Velasquez on National Treasure. It's got to be one goal, right? You send that horse, you go off, and you try and win it.
And First Mission just let someone go 24, 48, 112. There's no reason to think he's not going to let someone do it again. And if he lets National Treasure do that, he's in a world of trouble. I'm not saying he's going to, but if First Mission lets him go and Coffee with Chris doesn't press him, he's in a world of trouble. Because I agree, look, First Mission has been absolutely goofy. I'm sorry, National Treasure has been goofy in his races. But when National Treasure got the lead, he looked very good. And if National Treasure gets the lead again, you're going to see a different version of him in that sense. And that's where my fear is from National Treasure perspective. First Mission for me is just, I can't. I mean, the price is too short. The horse is unproven. I don't love Arabian Lion. I don't think that Lexington was that good. So you go through all of that process and you're like, and now I have to swallow what I think is going to be close to 2-1 or maybe sub 2-1. Because I think First Mission is going to get bet off the board here as the wise guy horse to be able to beat Mage. I just can't there. I think the price is absolutely wrong on that horse.
Curtis Manlow brings up a great point. Right after the Derby, in the trainer quotes that they get, they go up to every single trainer, every single jockey immediately after the Derby and ask them their thoughts. Brad Cox in that moment was talking about First Mission because they asked him, "Are you going to send any horses to Preakness?" He's like, I don't know. I got First Mission though. Let me tell you about First Mission. They're like, the Derby is like your last horse is still like rounding the turn. You don't want to. No. Let's talk about First Mission. Like he's been very high on the horse, but
here's the problem with that. If I had a penny, just a penny, for every time Brad Cox was super high on a horse and told the whole frickin' world, I would be the richest man on earth. He hypes his horses to everybody more than anyone else, any trainer I've ever heard of. If I had the number of people who text me and say, Brad Cox told me he loves a horse is just unfathomable how many people say that. And if you know the Brad Cox barn, you know I am correct. Aaron, you can shake your head in the background if you want. Every single horse is the best horse that's ever run. It is ridiculous out of that barn. So I don't give a flying beep if he likes the horse or not, because I don't trust him when he says he likes the horse.
I was laughing because Aaron's face in the background said it all. I forget which horse it was on Derby weekend that was supposed to be. It was supposed to. West Willpower, that's right. Yeah, and that horse, oh, man, he stuck his stubby little dick in the ground. I do want to ask you this. Go back to this. David Brista asked this great question. If somebody's against Mage, clearly we're not, but if someone's against Mage, how deeply do you recommend they end up playing in this race?
It depends if you're using first mission. If you're using first mission, I wouldn't go any more than 3 deep. I think if you're chucking both of them, you can use a lot here, right? I think that really opens up your options. I don't see a world where that many people are not using both. Like, to me, the logical win contenders are National Treasure, Mage, Perform, and First Mission. I don't see any of the other 4 horses winning this race. So if you're not using National Treasure or Mage, I think you can use Perform, First Mission, and First Mission, National Treasure, and Perform. But outside of that, I don't see Red Route 1 winning. I don't see the 2 or 4 winning. I hate Blazing Sevens. So I think 3 deep is the right number if you're chucking Mage.
Kevin B, for the podcast listeners, Kevin B says, Brad Cox gave me a tip at the Stewart's ice cream shop near Saratoga last year. Finished dead last. Yeah, sounds about right.
He is the worst with it, man. I'm not making this up. He is the worst.
You did want to touch. You mentioned earlier you want to talk about Blazing Sevens. I agree with I heard you say it first that he's probably best as a one-turn horse, and people like to point to Chad Brown skipping the Derby and winning the Preakness with cloud computing and early voting. People forget that there were 2 horses. Was it last year? 2 years ago. He had 2 horses that skipped the Derby, went to the Preakness, and neither one of them did a damn thing. So it's not like a dead set thing that Blazing Sevens is suddenly going to run the race of his life here.
Well, and Blazing Sevens, 1 win came in the Champagne, which is a fake Belmont race at Aqueduct going a mile where the pace absolutely collapsed. And it was a 1-turn mount. He was able to run up into the win, right? He wasn't the best horse in the race. He won because of the pace setup. And now he's facing better horses without a pace setup. To me, it just doesn't make any sense here to be using Blazing Sevens. 6-1's way too short. And the horse is going to get bet off the board off that number 2. Everyone is going, it's Chad Brown, it's Irad Ortiz, they skipped the Derby, they aim for the Preakness, blah, 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 blah. Like, I just, no thanks. And you and I both been against this horse the entire campaign, and it has not hurt us yet. So if it hurts me now, so be it.
Hopefully it doesn't though. Hopefully we're both singled here to Mage. Let's not have it. All right. I think, you know what? That's all the great questions that we got there, but that's pretty great. Let's go ahead, Mike. Thanks for everybody for listening.
About all the other questions.
No, were there other? Nah. No. All the other questions kind of came up to it. Here we go. Dave Barista, I didn't see this one until just now. Does the track bias also hurt Mage? He has to be close against a bunch. He has to close against a bunch again. I don't. He can be tactical, right? We've seen that.
I don't think it does, especially in an 8-horse field where if he goes, let's say goes 48. Let's say this goes 47.5, and he's 5 lengths back, which is exactly what he did in the Derby. He's really dangerous here. Right. And so to me, the track bias isn't an issue there, especially since it's not like he's slow. Let's not let's not pretend he's Tapit Trice here. This horse has some early speed when he wants to. He can be forwardly placed. He can get up there without having a jockey go nuts on him. So it's one of those spots, right? I think that even with a 47, 48 pace, he's going to be in the picture. It's not like he's going to be crazy far behind. And people are like, well, the Florida Derby, they went 46 in the Florida Derby. Like, again, these aren't reasonable halves he's been behind. So it's not like if the pace is slow, he's going to be where Red Route 1 is.
I'm laughing that two weeks later, you're still firing shots at Tapit Trice. I'm like, man, that was a stray bullet just went past.
All the way from his Belmont stall.
All right, we'll give out our tickets one last time for the podcast listeners, YouTube viewers, Facebook viewers. You can take a look down below. I will start my 50-cent ticket. I'm going to go 267 with 13610. Add the 13 if Beer Can Man does draw in. I'm going to go 7, 9, 10 in the third leg, 3, 5, 8, 9 in the fourth, and singling the 3 Mage, that's $72.
I'm going to play 2 tickets here. I'll play a 50 center. I'm going to go 2, 6 with 1, 5, 10, 13. I'll use the 3 if Beer Can Man doesn't draw in. With 2, 7, 8 with 1, 8, 9 with 3 single, $36 for 50 cents. I'm going to play back a $5 ticket. 6 with 1, 5, 10 with 7 with 1, 8 with 3. That'll cost you $30 for $5.
Over at racingnews.com, it is Preakness week. We've got you covered with all sorts of previews and picks for not only Preakness Day Saturday, but also on Friday. It's Black Eyed Susan Stakes Day. Aaron's preview for that is up. The Pimlico Special on Friday. Vinny took care of that preview for us. He's got his picks up there as well. And then, Mike, you previewed the Sir Barton Stakes, which is race 4 on Saturday. And it's so early, we'll actually be in the middle of Dudes Who Bet Daily Saturday morning morning for us when that race is going off. So Arabian Lion is going to be running in that spot, and you can get Mike's picks for that. I knew Aaron was going to sing it down there. One of these times, Shoddy, you get to, we'll have you, if you ever, if you win the Fantasy League, Shoddy, you can come and sit in the background of StreamYard one day, and you can just watch what happens with Aaron during one of these shows, because it's really its own show into of itself. But anyways, Mike, your pick for the Sir Barton Stakes, you went with a cold try that you gave out. You feeling pretty confident?
Yeah. You got to watch the video if you want to find out what it is. Come on, man.
I didn't know how to get there because I didn't want to make you give out the pick.
Shockingly, Arabian Lion's on top. But if you want to find out who's second and third, go check out that video.
Blinkers Off will be live here in a little bit. Again, the betting Bible for Preakness Stakes is available right now. The full version, including all of Jared's picks, they're there. You can go download that right now or purchase it if you have it. And of course, the Racing Dudes Rockets and the Somobombs will be covering Pimlico and other major tracks all weekend long. And then if you want any sports coverage, we've got Dudes Who Bet Daily every Wednesday through Sunday at noon Eastern, at 9 a.m. Pacific. Any final words, Mr. Somich?
Looking forward to this weekend, man. We'll be live tomorrow, noon Eastern, or as you said, noon Pacific, noon Eastern, 9 Pacific, and then live tomorrow for the Pimlico and Saturday for the Pimlico card. So make sure you check us out. Make sure you subscribe so you know when we go live.
And we'll have the live show Friday covering the Pimlico Special and Black Eyed Susan will be 2 to 3 Pacific, 5 to 6 Eastern. I hate time zones. And then Saturday, a reminder, 4 to 7:15 Eastern, 1 to 4:15 Pacific. Again, like Mike said, youtube.com/racingdudes. Subscribe and hit the notification bell. Good luck to everybody until tomorrow. I'm Magic.
And I'm Mike.
Good luck, everybody.
Go Panthers.
What'd you say?
Go Panthers.
Oh, go Panthers. I thought you said go Lakers. Like, get the hell out of here. Rawr, go Panthers.
The Magic Mike Show, where you hear the experts speak. The Magic Mike Show. Tune into the show every week. The Magic Mike Show. You can trust the show is the bomb because it's being brought to you by RacingDudes.com.